Joining me now is MSNBC legal analyst Katie Fong and prosecutor and legal analyst Paul Henderson. Good to see you both today. One of Bill Cosby's attorneys, I want to just start right off the bat with this, said this.
This is what happens. Juries are stuck. When a prosecutor seeks to put someone in prison for things that are simply not presented in the courtroom. And the jury stuck to what they were asked to do, and that is to review the evidence before them, and there simply wasn't enough.
Katie, let's go to you, and it's hard not to watch Bill Cosby there in the background as she was speaking. Is she correct? Was the evidence not enough? Is that simply what this comes down to?
That's not true. You can't say that the evidence wasn't enough. The problem is you have to have a unanimous verdict of all 12 jurors. So we need to actually hear from those jurors. We need them polled, because I wouldn't have that level of arrogance that I feel is coming from the Cosby camp right now. The combination of statements made by his wife, Camille Cosby, as well as that of the spokesperson saying, go back to law school. Well, what if it turns out, Jacob, that it's a 11 to convict to 1 to acquit vote? Then was it really that bad for a prosecution case? Obviously not.
I want to run a statement from Camille Cosby, who, after the trial, released this. Let's take a look.
How do I describe the district attorney? Heinously and exploitively ambitious. How do I describe the judge? Overtly arrogant and collaborating with the district attorney. How do I describe the counsels for the accusers? Totally unethical. So,
Paul, I mean, that sounds like a direct attack on the justice system. I mean, that was an across-the-board accusation, attack. What do you make of that?
Well, that's not good. I mean, anytime that you're calling the prosecutors and the judge and our judicial system arrogant and ambitious, that's not good. And I think what they need to keep in mind is they are going to be appearing in front of all of these same parties very soon, in the next 4 months. And so it's usually not a good idea to come out and attack the prosecution like that. It's absolutely never a good idea to come in and attack the judicial system. So I think that may come back to bite them, particularly since you're not seeing conferences and messages from the prosecutors, because they are typically restricted even after a trial to come out and say, here's what you didn't see, here's what you didn't know. You're not seeing those comments from prosecution. You're only hearing the comments from Cosby's wife, from his attorneys, from side advocates. I think those comments may come back to bite them in the butt later on, especially because they're going to see all of these same people as they're making very important rulings about how that next trial is going to be framed. That's going to be absolutely crucial in the next trial affecting Cosby.
Katie, do you agree with Paul here that this attack on the justice system following the results today was effectively a misfire by Camille Cosby and the Cosby side?
Oh, absolutely. You know, there's something to be said, Jacob, about the idea of being gracious. It doesn't mean that Bill Cosby has to be grateful. I mean, I'm sure he has a lot to be thankful for that he's not being taken into custody today. But the reality is, as Paul said, you know, there is going to be another bite of the apple as declared by the DA. We know that's going to happen. The DA ran on a platform that included making sure that Cosby was prosecuted. He also made a post-mistrial statement, he being the DA. He said Andrea Constan, the victim, deserves a verdict. He didn't say that she deserves a guilty verdict. He says she deserves a verdict, and that is totally true. Everyone deserves closure, and perhaps we will see it in round 2 of State versus Cosby.
Paul, did Bill Cosby not taking the stand in his own defense play a role in the ultimate deadlocking of the jury that we're seeing this morning?
I think so. I think it contributed to it because I'm sure, you know, whenever you have a trial, jurors really want to see the person. They always want the defendant to testify. Because he didn't, I think that helped his case, because we were talking essentially about a case that is he said, she said. There's no forensic evidence, and the he said, she said, most of that information was coming from years ago testimony that had been recorded either to the police department or in depositions. And so that removed the jurors from being able to see the witnesses, the victims, and the defendant in real time talk about their feelings, what had happened, and the facts of this case. And so him not testifying was a smart move by the defense, and I would be absolutely shocked if in the next trial they put him on the stand. Why would you? It worked for them once. It'll work for them again. The only difference is going to be, though, now prosecution knows that he is not likely to take the stand. So in the next case, you're going to see all of the same evidence, but you will hear qualified statements, mostly in opening statements from both sides as they gauge both their weaknesses and strengths from this trial that we just saw.
All right, as the judge declares a mistrial in the Bill Cosby case, Katie Fong, Paul Henderson, thank you both so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
We are also following